If you're looking for the inside scoop on Broadway's biggest shows, you've come to the right place. It's The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsin Fidel. Welcome.
But suddenly loud as a mortar, there is hope. Finally,
yes, Leo, there is hope. Parade is back on Broadway, starring Tony Award winner Ben Platt and Michaela Diamond. In fact, they're both nominated for Tonys this year for their work in this stunning revival. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Thanks, Tamsin. Already a Tony winner for Dear Evan Hansen, Ben Platt is nominated once again for his moving performance as Leo Frank in Parade. We caught up at the Rosevale Kitchen at the Civilian. So you're on Broadway, you're back. I know it was really excited to come back to Broadway. What's life like when you're on Broadway in this run? I remember when you were doing Evan Hansen, you were pretty much in lockdown, which is not a term we actually like to ever think about now,
Sure.
Post-pandemic.
That's right, whole different meaning.
But what is life like now during the run of Parade?
It's definitely different. I mean, because I do get to be with Noah, I have more of a home to go back to. It's not just me, and I get to sort of fill myself up in other ways. I think with Evan Hansen, like you were saying, it just physically was so demanding that there was just no room for anything else. And I think I found, obviously I still have to do all of the annoying like vocal health stuff and the supplements and the drinking and the sleeping and all that. But I think with this show, it's been more about countering the grayness and difficulty of the show with just trying to have some bright moments every day. And so being with Noah makes that very easy. So I've tried to fill any time that isn't filled with great chats like this, with like just being with him and the dog and being in New York. We've never gotten to just like firmly live in New York as a couple. So yeah.
I know you just went to the White House celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month and Jill Biden. How was the First Lady?
It was great. They were all lovely. We got to meet Joe in the Oval Office and say hello.
Wow.
He was very lovely and talked about, keeping, never forget, keeping anti-Semitism out in the light and lots of good things. And Jill was very gracious. Everybody was really nice. It was nice to be there for something Jewish related that was like purely joyful and like there was food and singing and not have it be about like a trauma.
I think Michael Arden is a genius.
Yeah,
your director, and I think that what they beautifully do in this production is they kind of lead the audience along with the real photos, and you almost feel like you're like watching a true crime story unfold, and you're learning about the real people, and really gives you a connection while you're watching it. And I think it's exciting that you're kind of a vessel now to introduce this story to so many younger people.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that I certainly, for many reasons, felt a lot of nervousness and pressure in terms of like what would be the right reason and an opportunity with which to come back after doing Evan Hansen. And obviously all I wanted is to come back because I just love musical theater more than anything, and it's like the community that I value the most. And so I think as soon as Michael told me his concept for it and approached me, the combination of Michael and the piece was like such a no-brainer. I just knew that there's no person who couldn't value from seeing this particular story. So no matter what walk of life the person is coming in with, or if they like Pitch Perfect or Evan Hansen or whatever it might be, it's something worth seeing. So I just feel really lucky that that's the piece that ended up being the one.
I think a lot of the energy of this version of Leo, the Leo that we meet in the musical, he has this social awkwardness. He seems like a very introverted person, and people don't understand him. Do you consider yourself an introvert?
Very much so. Very anxious, very much an introvert. I have a very small span of being able to speak with somebody that I'm not like incredibly comfortable with and keep a conversation going without it feeling like I want to go lay down. So yes, my fiance is the opposite, which is nice.
But I was thinking about how you have so many tools that Leo didn't have to express yourself. I was thinking about social media, right? And I was thinking about even how you express yourself in your music and in your fashion and in your personal life and in your causes and in the way you sort of run your career and what you choose to do. And it's interesting, I feel like you're able to present yourself in a lot of different ways. And somebody like Leo Frank at that time was really just sort of judged on very little.
Totally. I mean, it's like to the nth degree of like when you don't feel like there's enough context in like a tweet or something and everybody jumps on it and there's this outrage and there's not any kind of full picture. For Leo, there is just what's written about in the paper, what's discussed in the town, what the mob mentality is, that becomes reality because that's all that exists. And he wasn't somebody, like you said, who was out there bearing his soul and trying to make himself known because he didn't have the tools for that. Yeah. What he does have that I don't have, or that I don't consider myself, this kind of person, is he definitely is very headstrong and aggressive and speaks his mind and can be abrasive. And I think part of what I love about playing the character is that I am not that way, and also that we're presenting someone who is not this like angelic, kind of perfect, sweet martyr. Evan Hansen obviously is very flawed and did lots of things that are very flawed, but in terms of his characterization, there's a real easy connection and openness emotionally. But with Leo, he's a hard nut to crack, and yet we're still asserting that like even somebody flawed like this who can be very annoying and snobbish and turn his nose down to people still deserves due process and justice and is not a monster, and that there can be that nuance and grayness. And I feel like just as much as obviously the anti-Semitism and the political angle is an important message, that kind of a hero I think is important too.
I never raised my hand, I stand before you now.
So you're Tony nominated in a category with two guys you were nominated with last time.
I know.
Josh Groban.
Yes, and Christian Borle.
The
sweetest man around.
Yeah, look at this little pack. I love that you're now, at the tender age of 29, a senior member of this experience. And like Michaela Diamond, your fantastic leading lady, Oof. She was saying that she's so thrilled to be able to go through all this with you. And she's like, he's not nervous at all. He knows what he's doing. Colton Ryan was actually a standby for the role of Evan Hansen when you were performing it. Does that seem strange to you?
It's so lucky. I feel really privileged. I think the only thing I regret that I had the first time around in what was an incredible period was just that I was so young that I didn't know to focus on being present in it, because it happened so quickly and there were so many life moments happening in succession that I just kind of let them by. And obviously I hold on to the great things, but there's so many moments I wish I'd been more in my body for, and so I have my age to help with that, I have my fiance to help with that, and also having Michaela, who was the age that I was. Yeah. Not only am I trying to help her stay present, but she really helps me too, because we are going through the whole thing together. So to get to like look at each other and take it in has really been helpful, and it's felt like it's been a bit slower this time.
I also want to ask you about Theater Camp. You
Yes.
have a movie coming out, which I saw, which is fantastic.
Thanks.
You worked on it with a childhood friend who I don't know, Molly Gordon.
Molly Gordon, yes. We did theater together from when we were 4 years old, and then my friend Nick Lieberman, who I met doing Into the Woods in high school with, the two of them co-directed it. And then
Noah.
And Noah and the all four of us wrote it and produced it together. So
Was it just like a pandemic? Was this like a...
Well, we made a short film in 2017 of this Theater Camp idea at Ripley Greer, very popular theater spot, for $0 in like 24 hours. And we loved the experience, and we thought it was really funny, and we always hoped to develop it. And so we spent a few years trying to develop it into a feature. The pandemic happened, it went away. And then as the pandemic was starting to end, we were like, let's try to make this happen. And we pushed it up the hill, and nobody really wanted to make a theater nerd mockumentary alt comedy, but we found some really faithful producers, and they made it, and they let us do it for 19 days, and here we have it.
You must be excited to get it in front of theater fans.
So excited. I mean, obviously, I think there's things for other people to enjoy, and I think it's a comedy for anybody, but the most important thing to me, obviously, is that the theater community feels like it's authentic, and it makes them laugh, and I think it sends them up and indicts theater people in a way that only people who are them and love them can do.